All right, so get ready to dive into a world of, well, pretty incredible opulence and tradition. Because today we are going to be unpacking the Ambani merchant wedding. And even if, billionaires and their parties don't really usually pique your interest, trust me, this deep dive is about so much more than just like a big, crazy, expensive party.
It really is. This wedding was a global event, and it offers some really fascinating insights into culture and ambition, even geopolitics, really.
Yeah, we're working with an article from The Knot, believe it or not, yes, that Knot, the wedding planning website. They did a whole breakdown of how this billionaire couple personalized, their big day. And big might be the understatement of the year. We're talking a 7-month celebration kicking off with a performance by Rihanna.
A detail that certainly sets the stage, doesn't it? It's fascinating to see The Knot, known for making weddings accessible, covering something so profoundly out of reach for most people.
Exactly. And that's what makes, I think, this deep dive so interesting. So before we get into, the nitty-gritty of 9-page fashion guides and Bollywood stars rubbing shoulders with, tech giants and things, let's talk about the Ambani family. So, expert, give us a crash course. Their wealth it's unreal, right?
To put it mildly, we're talking a level of wealth that most of us can't even fathom. Mukesh Ambani and his father built Reliance Industries into a global powerhouse, securing their position as, major players on the world stage.
So it's not just some rich family throwing a party. This is about legacy. This is about making a statement.
Precisely. And the sheer scale of this wedding was their statement. Multiple venues, including their 27-story family home, A-list guests from, every corner of the globe. This was a carefully orchestrated message, wouldn't you say?
It definitely seems like more than just a celebration of love. So, What kind of message do you think that they were trying to send with this level of extravagance?
Yeah, that's a question worth unpacking, isn't it? On one hand, it's a declaration of their success, like a way of showcasing their influence to a global audience. Remember, we saw everyone from Bollywood royalty to the Kardashians to tech giants like Mark Zuckerberg in attendance.
Right, and let's not forget, this was still a deeply traditional Indian wedding at its core. Even the wedding date wasn't left to chance, right?
Absolutely. The date was meticulously chosen based on the couple's astrological charts, seeking the most auspicious time for their union. This detail highlights the fascinating interplay between ancient beliefs and modern extravagance at play here.
Yeah, it's like they're merging these two worlds, tradition and opulence on a massive scale.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of tradition, the article delves into, the ceremonies, the haldi, the mehndi, the barat, all these rituals that, we might not be familiar with.
Each one is so deeply significant in Indian culture. The haldi, where turmeric paste is applied, isn't just a fun pre-wedding ritual. It's about blessing the couple with prosperity and good luck as they embark on this, new chapter.
Okay, and the mehndi ceremony with those intricate henna designs.
It's a celebration of joy and beauty. But it also symbolizes the bond between the bride and her family and friends. These women come together to create these stunning designs. It signifies their support and love for the bride.
I'm picking up on a theme here. It seems like even amidst the diamonds and designer dresses, family plays a very central role.
Absolutely. Family is paramount in Indian culture. And that's beautifully illustrated in the Barat, where the groom arrives at the wedding with this lively procession of family and friends all there to celebrate with him. It's about community, joy, and welcoming the groom into the fold.
Sounds like quite the entrance.
It's meant to be. It's a vibrant expression of joy and celebration, full of music, dancing, and laughter. Then, of course, you have the Ferris, the heart of the wedding ceremony.
Then not mention the couple circling a sacred fire.
Yes. 7 times, with each circle representing a sacred vow they make to each other. It's such a powerful image of commitment and spirituality, connecting them to generations past and future.
For all the talk about extravagance, I'm struck by the significance of these traditions, the weight they carry. And speaking of which, the Knot article highlighted Radhika's stunning outfits. She seemed to effortlessly blend traditional and modern elements.
Her wedding dress, a masterpiece by Abujani Sandeep Khosla, was a modern interpretation of the traditional Gujarati Panatar style. The craftsmanship, the detail, it was truly breathtaking. And that 17-foot veil, talk about making a statement.
But what really stood out to me amidst all this grandeur, Radhika chose to wear a family heirloom necklace. That feels significant.
It does, doesn't it? Almost a whisper of personal history against a backdrop of such extravagance. This one detail speaks volumes about the subtle interplay between tradition and innovation that this entire wedding embodies.
It makes you wonder, Why include that personal touch amid such a grand spectacle? What do you think, expert?
Perhaps it was a way for her to stay grounded, to connect with her own personal history amidst the overwhelming scale of the event. Or maybe it was a message, a subtle nod to the enduring power of family and legacy, even in the face of such ostentatious displays of wealth.
It's an interesting juxtaposition, for sure. And speaking of juxtapositions, the guest list itself was quite the mix. You're right. Let's talk about that guest list. We can't just gloss over it. We're not just talking like, Bollywood stars here, although they were definitely there in full force. This guest list was a who's who of global power players.
It really was a fascinating cross-section of influence. You had tech giants like Mark Zuckerberg, casually posting selfies, alongside prominent politicians, business tycoons, even royalty. It was a testament to the Ambanis' global reach and the strategic alliances they've cultivated over the years.
Yeah, it makes you realize that a wedding like this is about more than just like celebrating a couple's love. It's about solidifying connections. It's about making a statement on a global stage. And speaking of making a statement, the Knot article mentioned a 9-page fashion guide that was sent out to guests beforehand. 9 pages. What was the thinking behind that, expert?
It's a fascinating detail, isn't it? On the surface, it might seem like an over-the-top attempt to, dictate style, But I think it speaks to something deeper. This wasn't just about preventing a fashion faux pas. It was about ensuring everyone understood the cultural significance of each event and dressed accordingly.
So navigating a delicate balance between respecting tradition and accommodating, a very diverse global guest list.
Exactly. And remember, each event had a different theme and dress code, from traditional Indian attire to, Western black tie.
Yeah.
The guide was crucial for navigating those transitions and ensuring guests felt, comfortable and confident throughout the festivities.
Imagine getting that in the mail, though. Jungle chic, Bollywood glam. It's a world most of us can't even imagine. But amidst all this extravagance, there's another detail that caught my eye: the food drive. Before the festivities began, the Ambani family organized a massive food drive, feeding over 50,000 people. It feels like such a stark contrast to the opulence of the wedding itself.
It's a really interesting point you bring up, this act of generosity juxtaposed against, such extravagant spending. It raises some important questions about the role of philanthropy, particularly within, wealthy families like the Ambanis.
What are some of those questions?
Well, on one hand, it's impossible to ignore the issue of public image. When you're this wealthy and this visible, acts of philanthropy can be seen as a way to manage public perception, to balance out the displays of wealth.
So maybe a way of counteracting any potential backlash or criticism.
Exactly. But it's crucial to remember that philanthropy is also deeply ingrained in Indian culture. It's seen as a duty, a way to give back to society and uplift those less fortunate. So the motivation likely stems from a combination of factors.
It's fascinating to think about the complexities at play here, the interplay of cultural expectations, personal values, and public image. It's not a simple equation.
It really isn't. And it's a conversation that extends far beyond this one wedding. It prompts us to think critically about, wealth disparity, social responsibility, and the different ways people choose to use their privilege.
And what's interesting is that the not a publication focused on weddings is the one highlighting this philanthropic act in the context of this extravagant celebration. It definitely adds another layer to the narrative.
Absolutely. It challenges our perceptions of what a wedding can be, what stories it can tell, and what conversations it can spark.
You're right. We tend to think of weddings as purely personal events, but the Ambani merchant wedding reminds us that they can also be powerful platforms for cultural commentary and social impact.
Precisely. And this one in particular raises more questions than it answers.
It's a lot to process, isn't it?
It really is.
The sheer spectacle of it all, the cultural traditions, the global power dynamics, even the act of philanthropy, it's a lot to unpack.
It really highlights how this one event, a wedding, can serve as a lens through which we can examine broader social and cultural trends. It's a reminder that even seemingly personal celebrations can be reflections of larger forces at play.
It makes you wonder, was this the wedding of the century? I mean, we've seen extravagant weddings before, but this one felt different. It captured global attention in a way that's hard to ignore. What do you think, expert? Set this one apart.
It is hard to pinpoint one single factor. The Ambani name carries a certain weight, of course, representing a level of wealth and influence that's almost unfathomable to most. But I think it's the convergence of factors we've been discussing. The sheer scale of the extravagance, the deliberate blend of tradition and modernity, the global guest list, the philanthropic efforts, all of these elements combined to create an event that transcended the typical definition of a wedding. It became a spectacle, a statement, a microcosm of global power and cultural exchange.
It really does make you question what we value, doesn't it? And where something as seemingly personal as a wedding fits into all of that.
It does, and it challenges us to look beyond the surface, to consider the motivations and implications behind these grand displays. It's easy to get caught up in the glitz and glamour, but this deep dive has revealed that there's always more beneath the surface.
It certainly has. This Not article, which initially seemed like it might be a purely celebratory account of a lavish wedding, actually provided a surprising amount of food for thought.
It goes to show that even in the most unexpected places, we can find insights into culture, society, and even ourselves.
So for anyone listening who might be feeling a little, I don't know, overwhelmed by the opulence, the traditions, the sheer scale of it all, what's the key takeaway here? What's the one thing you hope listeners will remember from this deep dive into the Ambani merchant wedding?
I think the most important thing to remember is that events like this, as extravagant and out of reach as they may seem, can still offer valuable insights into the world around us. They can spark conversations, challenge our perspectives, and prompt us to think critically about the values and forces shaping our world.
Perfectly said. So there you have it. The Ambani merchant wedding. A fairy tale, a spectacle, a testament to ambition and tradition, and ultimately a powerful reminder that sometimes the most extravagant events can reveal surprising truths about ourselves and the world we live in. This is The Deep Dive, signing off.